Welcome to Whispers from Within. I'm your host, Katja Aurora, intuitive healer, space holder, and inner wisdom guide, here to share insights from a lifetime of walking between worlds. This is the sacred space where intuition leads, the soul speaks, and ancient wisdom meets everyday life. In each episode, we explore energy, healing, and the human experience, guided by presence, truth, and laughter. Let's listen in and remember who we really are. I anchor the space now in the eternal light of Source. I stand sovereign and free, aligned with the law of one. Only what serves the highest good may move through this field. All distortions dissolve into light. The words, the sound, the silence, all are carried in clarity, purity, and love. May each listener receive exactly what uplifts and aligns them, in perfect resonance, in perfect timing. This field is sealed, sovereign, and blessed. It is done. Hello everyone. We're back again today, and I come to you with a very interesting theme. We are talking about the unseen and seen worlds, more so about the unseen than the seen, because most of us know the seen, but not what lies beneath all of that. And I always say in my sessions as well, we have so far been, we've been programmed mostly, but we've been programmed to just see 50% of the equation, the seen world. And yet there is another 50% of the unseen. It's an equal balance. It's not one more than the other. It's both and. And so if we only look at the seen, we are missing half of reality, really. So I was asked by the unseen to be a spokesperson for them. There's a lot of unseen things that want to be spoken about today, but I want to tell you a little story first, and also want to share with you how I navigate my day to day if something comes my way. Maybe that is helpful to you. So here we go. So today I went on a walk. And so it's really fresh, still in my mind. And I take Jasper, my dog, out with me for walks. And just so that you know, I had a really difficult time with him recently. He's 12 years old and he's a Labrador. And so he's quite old for his age. He's still in really good shape, but he has a growth in his tummy, and that sometimes causes him to have bad days. And we recently went through a spell where I almost lost him. So we went through a bit of a journey there, but that's not what I want to talk to you about today. So we went on a journey, on a walk today, and this walk is very close to where we live. And I've only just recently discovered this walk. I tend to drive with open eyes, and I always notice the signs. In the UK, we have public footpaths, and there's often signs that show that where there's a public footpath to try out. And so I've passed this sign several times before, and I decided to explore this particular sign, and discovered this walk. And this is probably about 3 weeks ago, something like that. So it's fairly new. We've done this walk several times now. It's a round walk. I mean, you can make it a round walk. There's several different paths you can take. And we really enjoyed it. We really enjoyed this particular walk. There was a lot of trees on it, and it just had a really peaceful feeling to it. Now, last week when I went on this particular walk, there was one section of it where they had felled trees. And it felt like they were clearing things out. There might have been diseases in the trees that they took out. They were just randomly picked. There was no, it wasn't fully, the trees were not fully struck down. There was trees left. But I noticed that there was a significant disturbance in the nature around it. So I noticed the upheaval in the air around it. So that was last week. Today, when I went on the same walk, there was another area of this walk that was an old Roman road that even had a sign explaining what a Roman road was and the history of it and everything. And it was a really just a peaceful little alley. It looks like an alleyway. It's not an alleyway. Is secluded path through behind houses and through nature. It was really peaceful. Now today when I arrived there, the ground was all churned up. There were bulldozers and tree cutting machines, and this Roman road that once was a peaceful little alleyway through the nature that was there, today was an absolute mess. So I arrived there, and I immediately am very sensitive to anything that is churned up, or where there's energies out of alignment. I'm very sensitive to that. So I noticed the upheaval in the air again, but this time it was really dramatic, because it had just happened that the bulldozers were going along that Roman road, that old Roman road that had lots of grass on it before. Now there were just these traces of the bulldozers, which in the soft ground had kind of almost removed the grass completely. So there was no grass left on that path. And on the other side of it, all of the trees were felled. So I'm presuming, this is me presuming, there is a development in progression there, and they needed to clear the forest to make way for a development. And that's all fair enough. We have to obviously live in this world. We need some space to live, and we need to build some houses, and that's all well and good. But for me, the level of unconsciousness in the way that it is being done really hit me hard today. When I was walking that path, I was just so distraught. I felt nature, and don't get me wrong, nature is very resilient. If you leave this for a few weeks, there will be growth again, and everything will come back to life where they've churned it up. That's how nature is. It replenishes really quickly if you let it. But the way that this is done with these big machines, and I don't even know, and there's no judgment here, but I cannot imagine how these people that are doing that are even able to do that, just marching in with their big machines and cutting these trees down and just eroding every bit of nature there is in this plot of land. It really hit me hard today, because I was watching it, and I at the same time I realized I was walking this path to bring some healing. I was walking this path, and I could feel how behind me there was a golden kind of a golden thread behind me, just bringing in some calm and some healing for what had happened there. And when trees are needing to be felled, there's no issue with that happens. But we can ask the spirit of the tree for its permission or for its readiness for it. So it was the pure unconsciousness that this is done with that hit me hard today. And I was walking, I was sending healing. I was also questioning why this is coming up in my world. What is it in me that I need to face with that? Because everything that you see on the outside is always a mirror to the inside. And one thing that came to me as I was walking was that nothing in this world at this point in time is a given or stays. So I've only just discovered this walk, and now this walk has completely changed within 3 weeks of me knowing this walk. So it's no longer what it was. All the trees in one section have gone, and well, nature has big scars from what has happened just there. And so it's a completely different picture now than it was when I first discovered it. And I just really felt that deeply. I had the grief in me, and I was also then aware that this has happened to me in another life, at least in another lifetime, and that there was still a trauma from that in me, that through this experience today, I was able to transform. I was able to heal in me. And this is what these experiences do with us as well. They are there for us to realize where there's still something unresolved in us, so that we have the opportunity to actually go and resolve that. And I took that opportunity. I was still feeling the grief in me. I was still feeling the upheaval in the elements around me. I could feel the nature spirits being really angry, but they also, they're kind of, they know that as humans have ways of, with very, very deep unconsciousness. There's some that have no consciousness in regards to nature. They know that. And I think the worst for them is when they're surprised by something like this. So when there is no advance warning of anything, and this just happens on a day, because then that means they're becoming homeless. From 1 minute to the next, their habitat is destroyed and they have to find something else. Now, they will find something else and they will settle again. But it still is such an upheaval that could be avoided, and it could be handled with a lot more care than it is done currently. So why I'm telling you this, I just want to put some consciousness or awareness to nature spirits, nature beings. And I don't just mean trees and plants, and I mean fairies. I mean the beings that look after, that are the guardians of the trees and the flowers and the plants. And there's a lot of nature beings that guard nature, that look after nature, that make sure that everything is in balance, that create beauty in nature. And they also work with us if we are so inclined, if we want to. And I go back to my time on Ireland, because that's when I first reconnected with the fairies, after a long time of not really being so aware of them. I always knew they were there. So when I was in Ireland, I had a dog to look after, and I always, it wasn't always the same walk, but there was one particular walk that became very dear to me, because it was a tiny little forest, not very big at all. And it had a little meandering pathway in it, and it was where there was a little parking area for people to have a break from driving, and there was a little stream, and then you had a little bridge, and that bridge took you into that little forest. And I went there frequently because I really loved the area. Ireland is really beautiful in many ways, and this was one of those areas that was just really stunningly beautiful. And the first time I went into this forest, I didn't know there were any nature spirits or anything. I just went into there, and I had the walk, and I noticed how it was really quiet at the beginning, and then as I went further into the forest, it felt like it was a little noisier, and I couldn't pinpoint that noise. It wasn't noise as in, the birds were chirping louder or anything like that. It just felt it had the feeling of more noise. And so as I repeated that walk with the dog I looked after at that point. It was Max, called Max. He and I, we really loved the walks. And I noticed and I saw the fairies in that forest. There was not just, obviously there was tree beings, there is pixies, there is so many different little beings. There were gnomes in there. Anything else that I want to say? Well, the fairies that as Tinkerbell type fairies, they were there as well. And there were sprites, and so the sprites are a little bit more mischievous, but there were so many different ones, and I began, slowly but surely, I began to see them in my third eye. I didn't see them with my eyes, my real eyes. I did see them in my third eye. So as I was walking, this was the beginning, I was picking up a mood in the forest. That was the first kind of reconnection with the nature spirits. And the mood was different every day that I went in there. So sometimes there was a celebration mood in the forest. Sometimes it was really quiet, nothing much happening. Sometimes it was like you could feel there was an anger in the air, or there was something going on that they were angry with. And other times they were just really curious and going about their work, and just generally different moods. And I noticed the difference each time. It became really apparent to me that there were different moods every time I entered this particular forest. And I also noticed that there wasn't much of the mood in the first part of that forest, because that was the part that many people would just go and have a wee in. And so there were not many nature spirits in that. There were nature spirits in there, but not that many. So it was quieter in the first bit of that forest. And then as I went deeper into it, it became louder. And this was the noise that I had picked up early on. And so eventually, when I went into that forest, I began to speak to the nature spirits, because I could see a little bit. I was also very keen to communicate with them, or to connect with them in some shape or form. So I was beginning to speak to them. I was telling them what was going on in my life. I was asking them what they were up to. I was just really enjoying having a conversation as I was walking. I must have looked really, really mental there, but I did really enjoy it. And as a result of that, every time I went in there, I fostered that relationship with the nature spirits. So eventually, when I ended up going there, it was like, there you are again. And they were really greeting me with enthusiasm that I was there again, having a chat with them. And I then saw them. There's a lot of little rocks with moss in Ireland. Like the rocks are overgrown with moss, so it looks quite mystical, because it's round shapes with moss everywhere, and then the trees in between, and the trees are all mossy as well. It looks really mystical. And obviously if it's really like foggy, or there's a lot of moisture in the air in Ireland, so it looks really stunningly different every time, because the light is slightly different and the moisture in the air is different, and when the sun shines and goes through the leaves is different, or when the colors change in the autumn, it looks really different. And I noticed how, when I went into that forest, they came out of their little dwellings, because they lived, some of them, the gnomes particularly, lived in between the rocks, and they were coming out, and they were kind of waving at me as if it was a parade, me parading, and they were waving at me on the sides of that path. It was really funny, and they made me laugh so much. So there were times when they were really happy. They were celebrating something. Like a tree, reaching a certain age, or there's something happening that they were celebrating. And then other times they were really angry about something a human being had done in the forest, or how they were treated, or how the forest was treated. They were really angry. So then I could feel that. But every time I went in there and it was angry, that diminished, that kind of dissolved a little bit as I was walking. That was interesting as well. So that it became calmer because they had some witness in the human species that was actually, noticing what happened there. So that was interesting. And we had conversations, and I loved that little forest, and that is still there to this day, that little forest, I hope. The last time I checked it was. That really reminded me of my conversing with the nature spirits when I was small, and then I could actually see them. I don't remember that, but my mum told me that I was seeing imaginary friends, and I told you this before, but yeah, that's how it was when I was little. Obviously, then I just blocked that. But yeah, here I was rediscovering that there's nature spirits, and the nature spirits want to work with you if you like them, if you have an open heart and you have good intentions, and they feel that. They can feel your purity or your intentions very deeply. All the emotions that a human has are like amplified for them, so they would avoid people that feel angry, feel angry, or that have bad intentions, because that is so amplified for them. It's as if in a translation way to say, as if it was really loud, something really loud for us that we can't that we don't like to hear, so we close our ears. Just really laughing about my words here. It's Mercury retrograde, so the words come out a little bit different. So I really enjoyed my conversations with the fairies, and from the time there in that forest, then everywhere I went, for some reason, obviously all the tree beings are connected through their roots and the mycelium. Then they're all connected. So when you make friends with one tree, that tree sends out that message that you are befriending it to all the other trees. So wherever you go, you will encounter trees being friendly to you, if you are friendly to that one tree, because they've got the message already that you are a friendly person. So wherever you go, then you have beings that want to communicate with you. And so I experienced that. So wherever I went for walks, and I still do that now, wherever I go for walks, I have like tree beings being really friendly to me, because they know that I'm conversing with the nature spirits. And there's something else I want to mention here, because that is one thing that probably not many people are aware of. Every forest or every plot of land that is natural in its how it was allowed to grow, mostly the natural ones. There's ones that are not natural that have that as well, but most of those forest areas have gatekeeper trees at where there's a path going into the forest. They have one or two trees that at the beginning of that forest act like guardians of the forest, and they stand out. They look a bit bigger or more prominent when you look at that, and sometimes they look like an actual gate, because they stand on either side of the path sometimes, and the leaves obviously cross over above us, so it feels like a gate. Those guardians, they love when humans ask for permission to enter. And when you do that, when you are that conscious, and when you ask for permission to enter and have a walk in the forest, what you will notice is that you begin to see the magic. You don't see the magic if you just walk in without awareness. They are not, they won't deny you a walk, obviously, but they really value if you are conscious enough to ask for permission to enter the forest. And I try whenever I think of it, and I don't think of it always. I'm not a perfect human being, but whenever I think of it, I will always ask the guardians when I enter a new place or when I enter a forest that I know, I ask for permission to walk the land or to walk the path in that forest that I'm walking on. And I ask it 3 times. And usually I get 3 times a yes. Sometimes I don't. And if I don't, I really should know better to not enter it. There will be a reason when I get a no. That's very rare. But if there is a no, there's a reason for it. And if I am respectful, I honor that. I haven't really gotten many no's in my time. And if that was the case, I just turned around, basically. I go back to and do another walk instead, because there will always be a place where you are welcome. And sometimes they play with you as well. The pixies, they're quite mischievous. They're quite playful. They love to laugh. All of the nature spirits love, well, not all of them, but yeah, most of them love to laugh. They love to have a good time. And when they can make you laugh, even better, because that is also amplified for them and they really enjoy that. So yeah, I had a lot of times in that forest where they made me laugh. And I couldn't help but laugh. They showed me pictures, like I had visions in my mind of them doing silly things as well. Sometimes really just nonsensical things. And sometimes when I was sad, they tried to change my mood. They tried to lift me up, and it often worked. And this is why when you go into nature, it can actually rebalance your nervous system. You can calm down. If you're really hyper, if you're really in your head, you can calm down. The walking alone is very grounding, is very much allowing you to come back into your feet and be aware that you're walking and so forth. So for me, walking and going on a walk is very much being present in the moment. I enjoy, as I'm walking there, every step that I'm taking, I'm aware of what's around me. I'm aware of the sounds. And today, even on that walk, even though the machines were running in the background and you could clearly hear the destruction taking place, there were still birds chirping. So again, it's not all bad, and it's certainly, it is what it is. So we have to accept what is. But I was really aware of this unconsciousness, and they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing. So you can't blame them for doing what they're doing. They get their money. They earn their money that way. So that's fair enough. But there is other ways of doing that. If a tree needs felling, you can tell it that it needs to be felled, that there is a reason for felling it, if there is a reason. And you might think twice if you have to explain that to the tree, why you're felling it in the first place. And this is the whole point, right? They're beings. And so if you say to the tree that it's going to have to be felled, what the tree does is takes all its life force back to the bottom of it, so that it's not so dramatic for it when it's being cut. And it should be cut quite low down, because the connection point of the spirit, the tree spirit, is higher up. So when people fell trees higher up, the spirit of the tree is still trapped in there, but it cannot live anymore. So it's a trapped spirit in that tree, which is not very helpful. So it should always be cut at the bottom, so that the tree spirit is actually released. Or if it's been told that the tree is going to be felled, it can retreat down into the roots and then live there and then sprout again. That's what sometimes happens as well. It sprouts again from the bottom. That is the tree spirit that was clever enough and had enough time to go down and then come back up again, come back to life through the little shoots of the tree trunk. Yeah, because nature is resilient, right? It is always resilient, and no matter what we do, it will always come back. But if we are conscious of what we're doing, we can be guardians of the land. And there's another thing here that I just want to say. If we own land, we don't own it. We are guardians of it. And if we can work with the nature spirits that we have on our land, then that's a blessing for them, and they will be so happy about that. And even if you don't see them, even if you don't hear them, even if you never know that they're there, when you start talking to the nature spirits, they will listen. They will work with you, and they will give you ideas of what to plant where without you even noticing. And maybe you do notice, right? So they will tell you what is good where, what will thrive where, and they will also love it if you leave a little bit of wildness in your garden, when you don't make it so pristine. Like there's a lot of gardens that where people are so pernickety about the weeds and just know that every plant that grows has a purpose. It grows in conjunction and unison with the rest of the plants, whether that be a weed or not. The weeds are not really weeds. Like most of the weeds that we know have some sort of real benefit, and I'm sure that you're aware of that. Like the nettle is a really, really good plant. It has so many uses, and it's really beneficial for us. And it's still classified as a weed. Obviously, it's quite pervasive, so you need to keep it in check. But it will have a purpose in this biodiverse network where it grows. And every plant that you put in the ground, if there's weeds growing around it, those weeds are actually supporting the growth of that plant. That plant needs some support, and that's what grows. And all the weeds that are, all the plants that are growing, if not the ones that you've planted, but the ones that come up naturally on your plot of land, if you've been nurturing and looking after a plot of land for a while, those weeds and the plants that are growing there are growing for your benefit. So the plants that are growing there have a purpose for you. They're growing for you. So if the owner of the land changes, the vegetation, the plants that are growing change. Have you ever noticed that? They grow for the owner. They grow for the person that is there most of the time. And so when you become more conscious, watch what's in your garden. Watch what grows by itself in your garden, because it will be there to help you. It will help you in some shape or form. So you can look up what's growing and find out what it's good for, to see what the plant kingdom is bestowing on you to support your system, to support your physicality. Nature and life is always for us, but we often don't see it. And these unseen things, the nature spirits, for example, they're everywhere. Sometimes they have retreated a little bit, because in rural areas it's not the greatest to live there, but there's still nature spirits. Some of them really like it there because it's so diverse, it's so different to what they know, and they're curious. So there's some that live in these urban areas, no problem. There's also some that come to live with us in our homes. And that's another thing. I could talk for hours about this. Nature spirits are just marvelous, and they want to work with us. They are on the lookout for humans that are aware that there's more than you can see. And they will want to connect with you, and they try many different ways to get our attention. Sometimes it looks like it's a ghost in our house. Sometimes things fall to the ground, things disappear. They love that game to actually hide something from you. So then you go looking for it and you get really annoyed about it, and they just laugh about it. That's one of their favorite games. But you can also ask them to help you find it again, and they would gladly support you in that. So when you begin to have that notion of that there is other beings that you can't see, and you talk to them, or you begin to have a bit of a curiosity about it and explore that, they will notice the difference in you, and they will actually begin to communicate with you in some shape or form. So, yeah. Then the unseen is also our spirit guides. And there's also the ones that have passed over that are still supporting us on the other side. There is so many different aspects of this that I probably won't get through everything today. But I just wanted to, talk about all of the unseen things that are still informing our lives. And everything is frequency. And everything that surrounds us is frequency. So you can influence that frequency with who you are and what you choose to do or what you choose to be. And where you focus on, you can absolutely influence what's around you. And so going back to the spirit guides, just to tell you how it works for me, I don't see my spirit guides. I don't even hear them very much. What I have is a feeling. They give me a feeling, and they give me visions. So when I do my work, when I have clients with me, the way that my clairsenses work, clairsenses are the extra senses that you have to tune in with. So that could be the clairaudience, which is the hearing, the clair. Oh my God, I've even forgotten all the words right now. Clairsentience is the feeling. There's a knowing that you can have. There's a seeing. Clairvoyance is the seeing. So there's different clairs, and excuse me that I can't remember them. It's already late here. That's no excuse. Sometimes I lose the words. I know things, but I lose the words. The words are limited for me in certain aspects. I know plants, but I don't know their names necessarily, but I know what they're doing. I can tune into what they're good for, but I don't know the names. So for me, naming something is sometimes tricky because I go beneath that. Back to the guidance. So my guidance system works by, they give me visions, and they give me knowing, and they give me feelings of what it is they want to point out to me. So as I'm sitting in front of or with somebody that I'm doing a healing on, I can feel exactly how that person is feeling. I can even feel, sometimes, not all of the time, but I can even feel the physicality as well. So if they have pain somewhere, I know I have that pain in my body. And in that moment, I know it's not mine because it's just suddenly appearing. And so I know that it's from that person. I also feel where the energy is densest in their bodies. So I can feel if a chakra is closed, or if they have a knot somewhere, or there's a trauma trapped somewhere. I can feel these places in them. And it's often that I'm guided to the one that is the readiest to be released in that moment. So I'm very present. I'm very much working in the present moment when I do that. And so, my guides are not available for me to see. I don't see them. I just get guidance from them. And that's the ways I get that. And I can talk to them, and I usually get an answer. I hear what they would say, or sometimes I feel what they would tell me. So it's a feeling. It's it's really strong feeling. Have I got an example for that? So most of the time when I find trauma, Not all the time though, because it's not always necessary, but most of the time when I find a trauma in somebody, I get a vision of what that trauma relates to. So I get a vision of a past lifetime, or a time when they were a child, or I get a feeling that is really strong, like a feeling of betrayal, or something like that. And from that feeling, then I get a vision out of that. So it sometimes morphs from one thing to the next, and it creates a picture in my mind. So it creates like a story, which doesn't always make sense, but I usually, just say what I'm seeing. And even if it doesn't make any sense to me, usually for the person that is in front of me, it does. So I know I have learned to trust what I'm getting, even if it makes no sense whatsoever to me. Sometimes I get a smell as well. Sometimes I get, what is needed. Like the most prominent one that I remember is a lemon smell. Like when the lemon is beneficial for that person for some reason, or when that lemon smell was present in the trauma, like when that happened, sometimes I get that smell. So yeah, that happened to me there as well once. So they communicate with me through that, and they also communicate with me through birds. The way that birds fly in the sky means something to me. So when I see them flying, it means something. I get a notion of what that means, and I don't normally, I haven't learned how to read birds. I just know. So when I look at them, when I see, for example, I often see crows sitting at the top of a tree or very high up in the tree. When they sit on the top of the tree, I know that there's an epiphany coming to me. I don't know how I know that. I just know. And when it's not on the top of the tree but high up, it's an epiphany wanting to get through. So I can open up my system to get that epiphany more up on top of the tree. And then I would see a bird again, or a crow again that sits on top of the tree. Sometimes I see two birds circling above or something. That usually means that I'm meeting a friend, and that the encounter will be quite nice when the flight is harmonious. Sometimes I see birds that are fighting in the sky. Then I know, okay, there's a little bit of disharmony coming my way. So I kind of can read the birds, how they are circling in the sky, how they behave, how they sit on the tree, where they sit on the tree. It all means something to me. And this is another way of my guides speaking to me. So they give me the bird symbolism that then means something to me. That could be something different for you. I also often get feathers on the ground, or I get numbers somewhere that I can see. I used to, as a kid, I used to watch the number plates of cars very closely, and obviously not all the cars, but every time I would look at the number plate and then absorb the number, and the number means something. So each number means you can put meaning into something or you don't. Anything is meaningless until you give it some meaning. It's both and. It can be meaningless if you want it to be. It can also have a meaning. And for me, my surroundings are a mirror to what is going on inside. So for me, I read my outside world to see what's going on in me if I haven't already noticed what's happening. So the notion of coming across this destruction on this path today was reminding me that nothing stays static in the outside right now. There's a lot of fluctuation. There's nothing I can rely on in the outside world. And it was making it really clear to me that I need to find the anchor within me and not on the outside. That path is changing. It might be an upgrade eventually. Right now, it feels really traumatic. And it's a big upheaval for the nature world where that is happening. But it might eventually be something good. Who knows, right? But yeah, so everything that happens around me, I can relate to my inside. And if I know that, again, you don't have to do that all the time, because that gets quite, if you do that all the time, it can get overwhelming, right? But when I'm present and I have the time I want to tune in, that's when I read my surroundings. I read what I'm seeing. And that can be helpful. So yeah, there's omens, there's signs. Nothing is just randomly happening. There is a natural order to things. There is a reason why you see this bird on the tree. There's a reason why you find the feather on the ground, right? There's the universe is conspiring to give you something, to mean something for you, if you want that. And you can even go and ask your guides. We all have guides, by the way, and it's several, it's not just one. There's one that everybody has, which is the guardian angel, and that's the only one that can step in when you are in danger. They have permission to do that. They are meant to keep you safe. If it's not on your path, like some things do have to happen for your growth, and they know that. But if it's not meant to happen to you, they step in. So yeah, that's why we often say you've had a guardian angel there that saved you. That is true, because there is a guardian angel. But all the other spiritual helpers that you have, and that could be totem animals, that could be any particular teachers for a particular skill that you're holding. For example, I have a laughter coach. I have a shaman with me. I have, what else do I have? I have a sound teacher. So all the different things that are happening to you or are part of your life, you very, very often you do have somebody that guides that process on the other side, and you don't have to be aware of that necessarily. They will work with you nonetheless. But if you are aware of that, you can work together with them, and that sometimes makes the process easier for you and for them. If you're not aware, then that makes it harder for them. And they love people that know that they're there. Now, important to remember is that when you need help, please ask them. Ask them for help. They can help you in so many different ways, but they cannot step in until you ask them for help. So that's what you want to do. Remember to ask your guides for help when you need help. And even if it is like the most common one that everybody knows is asking for parking space, that is one of those things. You can ask your guides to give you a parking space that is spacious enough for you to happily park in there, just in the moment that you arrive in that car park, right? So you can use, and obviously this is very trivial, but if you are in need of help and support, you can ask them for help. Even with financial matters, even with other things, you can ask them to guide you through this process. They will not fix things for you if it's not on the cards yet that things are getting fixed for you, because there's learning in the process that you're going through. So they can't fix everything for you, but they can certainly guide you. So you can ask for signs, you can ask for the right people to come into your life, or to meet the right people at the right time, or to be in the right place when you need to be in that place to meet somebody, or to see something, or whatever it is. You can ask them to guide you well, so that you are automatically in the right place when you need to be, for example. Or to show you something, give you a sign of something, like a song or a feather or the birds or whatever else you have, like a butterfly or something, whatever else you have, so that they get your attention. So if something happens, you can ask them to give you a sign so that you are aware they want to show you something. They want to communicate with you. And if that sign is a butterfly, so be it. If you see the butterfly, just remember that was your sign, and then be more vigilant to see or open up your senses, full stop, to receive the message that is there for you. And that can just be a feeling as well. Sometimes they just want to let you know that they're there, and that they love you, that they cherish you, because they do. And they often we are our own worst critics most of the time. The programming that we have gone through has made us very critical of ourselves and of others, because, we only criticize in others what we criticize in ourselves. If we lose the criticism altogether, we are very tolerant people, because we can then also lose the criticism towards others. And so when you criticize yourself, they hear that, right? They know that you're doing that, and they would love to support you and tell you otherwise, because they can see so much more of you than you are able to see in this physicality. So coming full circle again, just be aware that the physicality and the things that you see are only 50% of the equation. There's another 50% that you can't see, and yet you can use the unseen to help you and to communicate with you and to create something. You can absolutely foster relationships in the unseen if you're that way inclined, if you are interested in that, and let that inform the other 50%. When we manifest, I put that in here now as well. When we manifest, the two need to be in alignment. If we only think of something and then it should appear, that's not how it works, right? Usually manifestation happens when we feel something. So the feeling is the magnet. When we can feel something, that is the magnet to pull it in. If we then also can have gratitude for it already being there, because when you imagine it, it's there in your mind, or in the unseen, it's there, then having gratitude is almost already bringing it in the physicality. I know that there's other caveats to this, and obviously not everything that you think of you will manifest in your life, but you just have to put your intention there as well. And yeah, I don't want to deviate too much into that now, but for some it's details that they need to see first in order to evoke the feelings of what they really want. And others, like me, I'm a non-specific manifester. That means for me, I need to feel the feeling, and that feeling is then bringing to me the actual thing that I don't know the details of. I don't think of the details when I'm manifesting. I manifest through the feeling. So I only feel the feeling first, and then that manifests something for me. But there's other people that need the details totally set. So they need to see a picture, or they need to write down exactly what it is that they want, and that creates the feeling in them. But it's in both cases, it's the feeling that is the magnet. Only with the feeling you are manifesting something. So be aware, there is 50% physicality, there's 50% energy, and all of that contributes to what you're seeing in your world. Be aware of this 50-50 split. It's not just the physicality. So we just need to open up to this notion that there's so much we cannot see, and become more aware of ways to work with what we cannot see, even if we cannot see it. You can tune in different ways. You can feel, you can know, you can touch, you can explore even, and usually something opens up, and you will even connect to your senses, your clear senses in some cases, even more when you open up to this. So it's not something that is suddenly there. Usually it will over time develop because you're focusing on it. And I would highly encourage you to do so, because it's so worth having allies in the unseen world. You will never be alone again. I promise you that. You will never be alone again, because you have your guides always with you. So you cannot be alone. But obviously, if you want to believe that you're by yourself, then you probably tune into that physical reality, because physically, obviously, it's only you there, but there's guides all around you, so you will never be alone. And we're all one in the end anyway, so we're all linked together, and that means that we can never be alone. So with that, I just leave it here. I hope I have given you a taster of this unseen world that we are also living in together with the seen. And maybe I have given you a little bit of a intrigue or an interest in exploring that nature spirit realm, because it's vast. There's so many different ones. The gnomes, for example, they look after the money. There's two types. The gnomes are more the ones that look after crystals and money. So you can invite gnomes to live with you, and they will be happy to look after your money. Again, I could go on for ages. It's a really fascinating thing, and is wonderful to have these friends in unseen realms, because it makes life rich, and it makes it more worth living too, if you're that way inclined. Obviously, not all of us are. So thank you again for coming with me on this journey. I hope there was something in here for you that you can take forward and try out or tune in with. And I'll be with you very soon again. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining me on this journey inwards. May the whispers you heard today echo into your daily life, gently guiding, healing, and reminding you of who you truly are. If this episode stirred something in your heart, I invite you to follow, share, or leave a review. It helps the medicine reach those who need it most. And if you feel called to go deeper, connect with me. Until next time, stay rooted, stay open, and keep listening to the whispers from within.